Hola a todos, buenos días, bienvenidos a este primer webinar de Sandbox. Queremos agradecerles a todos su presencia. Mi nombre es Ana Hernández de Melchor y soy parte del Grupo Agrisal. Queremos contarles primero un poco de Sandbox, pues Sandbox es una iniciativa que hemos trabajado con mucho esmero de la mano de SID e Inbox para poner a disposición de nuestra región una verdadera y accesible plataforma de innovación. Como Grupo Agrisal, siempre hemos tenido la convicción de generar progreso inclusivo y a través de Sandbox lo que vemos es potenciar ese espíritu de emprendimiento y de nuevos modelos de negocio que los retadores tiempos actuales nos están demandando. Ahora nacemos de manera digital, pero muy pronto vamos a aumentar nuestra oferta con un hub de innovación que va a estar puesto en World Trade Center San Salvador. Uno de nuestros más grandes anhelos es que ustedes se conviertan en nuestros aliados y que juntos podamos avanzar en el progreso de este país. Los dejo con Fernando Morán.
Muchas gracias, Ana. Y muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos. Mi nombre es Fernando Morán. Y hoy, para mí en lo personal, es un día que marco en mi calendario como el día que la gran empresa y los emprendedores nos unimos para impulsar la cultura de innovación en El Salvador. Muchas gracias a todos los presentes que nos acompañan a darle inicio a esta gran iniciativa que hemos venido cosechando con el objetivo de resaltar el gran talento que existe en nuestro país. Sandbox es una plataforma que ayuda a tu empresa a conectarse a este mundo de innovación. A través de Sandbox contamos con servicios de formación y asesoría guiada de innovación y queremos ser tus aliados en el proceso de Research and Development para tus nuevas iniciativas que tu empresa pueda tener o que quiera desarrollar. Contamos con una red de expertos nacionales, internacionales, para brindarte todas las herramientas que tu empresa necesita para aventurarse a este mundo lleno de cambios. Sandbox es la ventana de este nuevo mundo y queremos que todos los aquí presentes se sumen a este movimiento de escala mundial. Este proyecto nació con una idea de unir el país bajo un mismo norte, sumar los esfuerzos de El Salvador y pintarlos con la misma bandera, apoyando las iniciativas y el talento local para sacar a nuestro querido país adelante. Este tridente, SID Community, Inbox y Grupo Agrisal, nos dio la fuerza para contar con la confianza del BID, que hoy nos enorgullece saber que ellos también se suman a ser parte de esta iniciativa y por medio del BID Lab le han apostado a Sandbox como el proyecto de innovación a desarrollar en el país. Creo que todos aquí estamos muy conscientes que innovar es la opción. No nos queda de otra y es nuestro deber sacar adelante nuestro país. Para nuestro lanzamiento al mundo como Sandbox, queríamos tener un ponente extraordinario y por eso traemos a Kyle Hermans. Más allá de su amplia experiencia profesional, Kyle es CEO y cofundador de Be Courageous, una consultora global que se dedica a despertar la pasión necesaria para transformar a los líderes más atrevidos del mundo a través de la innovación. Gracias, Kyle, por creer desde el principio en este proyecto, convertirte en un aliado muy importante para Sandbox y ahora un aliado también para El Salvador. Muchas gracias y ahora pues nos estaremos pasando al inglés para darle inicio a esta ponencia. Thank you so much, Kyle, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I wish I could be in Salvador, in person in San Salvador. It's one of my favorite places. For anybody that I got to connect with last year, I miss you all. I'm so excited to see some familiar names and faces or names here in the chat stream. Thank you so much to Sandbox. Thank you so much to Agrisal. Thank you so much to the city of San Salvador. Thank you so much to everybody for having myself and Be Courageous here with you today. We are super excited to get started. So Fernando, is this the right time to just dive right in and to get going?
I think so, Kyle. I don't want to take much more time of this valuable session. So just let's dive in and let's get the party started.
Fantastic. This is music to my ears. This is fantastic. All right. So first of all, I want to send congratulations to everybody that registered and signed up on this webinar and on this webinar series, this really important series that Sandbox and the team have put together for you. There's no other times like these right now, these historic moments. And the fact that you've registered during this time to come and watch myself and all these other great speakers over the coming weeks is an example of your leadership. It's an example of you wanting to continue to learn. It's an example of your role modeling. It's an example of your ability to want to absorb new information, to take charge of the situation, and to do what's right for yourselves as leaders and for your business. So first and foremost, I congratulate you for being here, and thank you so much for the honor and the opportunity to be speaking with you. So I'm going to be doing a presentation. So I'll still be here front and center of the screen. I'm going to be showing you some things. So there's cues on my giant orb, but at the same time, we will also be taking you through some really important fundamental notes. This is also in part a discussion. I'm going to be feeding you with a lot of information, some frameworks, some methodologies, and some tools. We're talking today about the Great Reset, about economic disruption, innovation, and exponentials and exponentiality. It's a topic that is very dear to our heart. It's one we love. And also right now, there's no greater opportunity to be able to start applying our creative thinking, disruption, innovation, exponentiality. But it requires us as leaders to step up and to show up and to drive forward. So what I invite you to do, and thank you again for allowing me to speak in English. Unfortunately, my Spanish is terrible, but but in English, I hope this all makes sense. I will speak as clearly as I can. If anybody's got some questions, please keep them in the chat box. We're going to be creating some Q&A space a little later so you and I can connect and we can answer some questions. And we've already been receiving some questions. So thank you so much for all of those questions as well. But please keep something next to you to make some notes. It's very important here as we're connecting and as I'm speaking, the mind makes these connections really quickly. If you're getting new ideas, if you're getting thoughts, if you're getting connections about what is resonating with you in this presentation, please write that down. These will be important things for you to remember a day from now, a week from now, but also for you to share with other people around you. If there are things that make sense to you, there's actions you can start to take, write those things down too. If there are unanswered questions for you, write those down too. Fundamentally, very, very important. So let's get started. The Great Reset, economic disruption, innovation, and exponentiality. So as by way of introduction, I just want to share with you, my name is Kyle Hermans. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Be Courageous, and we are based in San Francisco, and we get to travel all over the world. Now, my personal purpose is to activate extraordinary potential within people, meaning I believe that every single person on this call, all 104 of us right now, we have extraordinary potential locked up inside of us, ready to come out, ready to make change. I believe that part of my purpose in life is to help find some keys or guide you to the places where you can connect to that. For our company, Be Courageous, it's about breaking through impossibilities. It's about going after the really tough stuff in the world and breaking through those things, but doing it together. The future is us collaborating. The future is us coming together with collective action. The future for us is to network together and to unleash our courage. That's a big part of my purpose. Because right now, today, as we sit here speaking with each other, today, this is the slowest rate of change we will ever, in this planet, experience again for the rest of our lives. That means enjoy it today, because if you think that things are going to slow down, they're not. It's going to speed up. It's going to continually speed up. The speeding up of exponential technologies, the speeding up of change. We've noticed it over the last few months, new pandemics, new situations, new crises, new opportunities in the world. They're coming up and they're starting to activate this planet way faster than ever before. Slowest rate of change. So what that requires us as leaders with the Great Reset, thinking about innovation and disruption and exponentiality, it requires us to be very present and to know how to deal and adapt with change. I'm going to be taking you through some frameworks today to get you there. But one of the first things I would love to do is ask you, for those of you that have got your chat box open, just if you want to type this into the field, because I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible in this format. What does reset mean to you? What does resetting mean to you? When you see here the Great Reset, I just want to focus on the word reset. The Global Economic Forum has got some incredible content around the global reset. Oh, sorry, the Great Reset. The Great Reset's got a lot going on inside of economics and in the Economic Forum, where they're talking about how we're having to stop and start all over again, or have to reset on the way we've done things. But I'd love to hear from you. What does reset mean? I see. Thank you, Guillermo. So start over. Yes, if you look at the dictionary, adapt to the new self. Start thinking and acting in a different way according to your new realities. Excellent. Exponential change, resetting. It's the next jump up. Reinvented, fantastic. Change, new beginnings, to stop, analyze, make changes, start all over again. Complete renewal. This is excellent. Stop, restart, continue, new opportunities from scratch. Being different, that's right. Getting a new white canvas in front of you, ready to receive whatever you want and draw on it. Love that. Opportunities to clean bad habits. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Freshness, improving what we already have. Fantastic. Please keep them coming. Spot on. Resetting, reset, like if you think about the reset button on a computer, things have got a little out of control. They got a little crazy. So what do? We reset. Factory default goes back to kind of a new, I see that clean break. Exactly right, that reset. Now with the reset, what is really important is that when we take a reset, what is it that we're resetting from? And what is it that we are resetting with the intention to go and do? And so it's very important that what I want to do is take you through some frameworks. So what you're going to see here, I love this. Thank you everybody for putting in these comments. Reset means learning from the past, starting all over, blank pages, cleaning out the baggage. Exactly right, cleaning out our baggage. So what you'll see over here is a framework. Now I'm going to leave number 1 till the very end. It's the most important thing here, but we're going to start with number 2. I'm going to take you through 4 really important things that as you're thinking about this great reset and you're thinking about resetting for yourself and for your business, I'm going to take you through 4 big criteria. And then down the center over here, I'm going to be taking you through some disciplines of which you can start to activate. So please take your notes and let's get started. And some of this may seem directly obvious, and that's important because part of my job here with you today is to remind you of what it is you already know that's inside of you. Like I said, we have potential inside of us. We need to activate that so that we can get that shift in mindset. So number 2, it's your mindset. It's how you think. One of the most important criteria and tools here for any form of reset is how are we thinking about this reset? Now, if you think about the mind, for me, I'm a practicer of NLP, neurological science, psychology, high performance. There are 2 minds that we have inside of our one mind. We have our analytical and we have our creative. We have in business what we call our operational thinking, and we have our creative or our innovative thinking. Both of these worlds cannot be often in the same place at the same time. Although our mind is present, we lead with one and we have the other waiting in the wings. Now, what's interesting about this in the time of reset is there's a lot of panic. There's more fear now than ever before that we've noticed. A lot of panic, a lot of anxiety. And at the same time, there's a small camp of folk who are also they've seen the fear and they're doing it anyway. They're going after new creative ideas. Now, what's interesting with our thinking, our mind, is we have to start reconnecting to our thinking, building a stronger relationship with our mindset. We got to go back in and say, how much of my time is dedicated just to operational efficiency, driving growth, driving scale, driving consistent operational procedures? And then what part of my time of the day is really dedicated to thinking, to believing, to inventing, to dreaming, to imagining? Now, I'd love to see here, just in the chat box as you're going, what's your percentage? You could say, percentage, is it 50-50 to I'm very operational and I'm also give a lot of time to creativity? Or is it I'm very operational with no time for creativity, or I'm a lot of time for creativity with no time for operations? I'd love to see what your split would be. You can say 80-20, and on the one side we can say creativity, on the other side we'd say operations. What would you put in the chat there about how your businesses are running? Do you make time for creativity? Because with our mindset, we have to strike a balance between when is the right time to scale and operate, and when is the right time to start to create and invent. With the reset, what works with this is we realized, excellent, 80-20, 25% creativity, little creativity usually, 60-40, right. What has happened here with the reset is we have been in an operational cycle. We have been pounding on our businesses going forward for a long time. But not very often have we paused and stopped and said, are we doing it for the right reasons? What's the next creative iteration? Where might a disruption be coming from that could knock us off track? We've lost a little bit of balance in our ability to create and innovate at the same time, or operate and innovate. So mindset is absolutely key. Now, what is happening is when you're going to start thinking about the future and you're going to start inventing, and I see here 70% great, 70% creativity, so analytic, 30% creativity. So across the board, you'll see that's one of the things that we sacrifice first, right? It's our creativity, because we're driving operational efficiency. We just have to make the business run. We got to meet our numbers. We have to make sure our shareholders are happy. We have to keep projecting and forecasting growth. But when we in that curve, when you're thinking about linear to exponential, sometimes that the linear operational business, the operational infrastructure actually takes us away from the ability to create. And when it takes us away from the ability to create and we don't practice that, this is what starts to happen. We see anything coming at us that is new through the lens of the old. And what I mean by that is, you see here, if we're inventing a new typewriter, right, it's very much built along the same lens as the old one. So what happens is, if we're looking for real breakthroughs, we don't often get it because we're just making iterative adaptations. Now, when you have something so fundamentally challenging that hit us like they did right now with the Great Reset, we have to rely on our creativity to start thinking of new innovative ways to advance ourselves. We have to transform. If we want to transform how we think or what we do in life, we have to first transform how we think. It's so important. Our thoughts match where we put our attention. So when we talk about mastering our mindset, I'm going to take you through a couple things. And part of this is for you to pinpoint where you are right now in your life, where you are in your business. There's no right or wrong. There's probably just a lot of opportunity that we're seeing here in the chat. There's opportunity for you to go deeper on creativity and start to explore. One of the first things here that we've noticed in business is that when we're mastering our mindset, a lot of companies right now, especially during this time, are in a fight or flight or freeze. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of concern about how to shape business. Our thinking is governed by conditioning from the past, conditioning from our environment, conditioning that we're looking at the world and saying there's not enough to go around. We have scarcity. We have our biases. We have our judgments. When it comes to a great reset, what a lot of that is doing is it's actually offering you an opportunity to reboot. Well, what if those didn't exist? What if there was a life of abundance? What if those filters and biases no longer existed? What would that free you up to create? If you weren't afraid, if we weren't in a survival mode only, and I know that's very hard. It's very hard right now. It's very hard. Be the first to acknowledge that. But if we imagine for a second that didn't exist, what would that free us up to think? Because when we govern by conditioning only, it limits our ability to think of new things and to innovate. And large organizations that are looking to scale operationally, now is often not the time that they double down on creativity. It's where they double down on efficient operations, where creativity is needed. The second layer of thinking, when we go deeper, is the thinking of rationale. It's where you're looking at science, you're looking at facts, you're looking at logic, you're looking at principles, you're looking at data. Everything needs to be sequential, almost linear, for us to make our creative decisions. Again, nothing wrong with these. There's an energy to this if you're trying to advance and create something new. You'll notice there's some filters here. The third, as we get deeper into our creativity, is about strategic creativity, where we actually create the opportunities to go out and to think differently. How often do you create space to be absurd, to think for originally, to try something new, to experiment with something new? Not for it to be perfect, but for it to be approximate. We've noticed that there's not a lot of time for that, especially under extreme moments of stress. However, in our world, in studying courage, another word for creativity is courage. meaning that it takes a lot of courage during these times to actually pause and say, how do we go and reinvent? How do we go and readjust? How do we reset? How do we look for new opportunities? Because that takes you to another deep layer that is inside of all of us, which is the idea of ungoverned thinking. Now that's linked usually to prayer and to dreaming and to trance, or what some people might call insane, because we're pushing our thinking really far out. But ungoverned thinking says, well, if I have a blank slate, if I get to start over all of those reset examples that you've just given, what would that free me up to think? What would I like to do for my business? What would I like to do for my customer? What are those needs that I would like to solve for? Because we have to challenge our beliefs. Right now, mindset is about challenging beliefs in the reset. Is the way we have always done things the right way to continue to do things? I'm sure most of the answers are no. It was mediocre at best. We were just going through the procedures. It was all very busy. Now's an opportunity to reset, to relook, rethink, and re-strategize. Now, a big part of our work here is about pushing our thinking. Pushing our thinking. There is so much unlearning that has to happen in a reset. What are the things that are no longer serving you in how you think? What are the things that are no longer serving in how we're working? What are some of those biases, those filters, those lenses that we have that are actually limiting our growth or limiting our ability to advance creatively as a company? There's a lot of unlearning. Write that down for yourself. What are some things that I would need to technically unlearn right now in my life? What are some things that are habits, as somebody mentioned in the chat? What are some of the habits, maybe my bad habits, or the habits that are not serving me as well? Does anxiety and stress really offer up a lot of opportunity for creativity? Probably not. So maybe an unlearning in that is, how do I create space each day, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, to write something new, try something new, read something new, breathe, give myself some freedom to think a little differently about how I might solve the same challenge that I'm facing each day. But when we get through that, if we want to break free and we want to shift our mind, we've got to be able to start building a relationship with our creativity. Now, there's layers to our creativity. There's rational ways to think about things. There's diverse ways, which is looking at other industries that we all doing right now. We're looking at who's winning, who else is getting through this easier. We're dreaming and wishing for big things. Metaphors and analogies are where we are. We're trying to create something, but we haven't figured out the language yet. And so we use metaphors. I want to be like the Uber, the Uber of retail. That's like a metaphor. And then there's this other piece in our beliefs, which is ideas start coming forward. And I know all of you have them. You have them on the daily basis. And they are really important things to connect to. Ideas that may seem irrelevant in the moment, but they're not really irrelevant for the future. One of my favorite lenses here is this idea of illegal or moral, meaning what's the most illegal or moral way we may solve a challenge? And I'm not asking you to be illegal or moral in terms of doing something wrong. It's a suggestion for your mind to be free of limitation, rules, and restrictions so that you can go out and start to think and challenge and then get to a very outrageous place. Because in our business, what we believe is that when you're trying to solve for the future from the present, we have to carry all of this baggage with us. And it's very hard to make these jumps into the future when we are so worried about everything that we have to bring with us from the past. An alternative is to reverse engineer this process, solve for the present from the future. If we can go out and dream and imagine, the reset's giving us an opportunity to have that blank canvas that somebody said here in the chat, to paint a new picture. If we can dream and dream big, then we can figure out how we got there and start to reverse engineer back to the present. That allows us to challenge our beliefs and assumptions. Like if we were in person and I could see your hands, I would ask all of you, when you were younger, how many of you had parents that said, do not get into cars with strangers? I would imagine that most of your hands will go up. But in this last couple of years, how many of us do that on a daily basis? With Uber, with Lyft, with rideshare. Something happened in our society. We challenged a perception and a belief of an old thought, and now we have thriving business and we've solved a real need. Challenging beliefs is incredibly important for mindset. So as we go for the great reset, that number 2 really, really most important thing is that as we go into this, how are you thinking about this? How are you challenging your own perceptions? How are you driving this forward? Are you staying pragmatically trying to do the same thing operationally? Or are you giving yourself permission and freedom to go and explore some new things? Really, really critical. The third thing, energy. Energy. This is another way we describe strategy. Energy is, where is your energy? How is your state of energy? How are you managing your mental and physical energy of yourself as a leader, but also of your businesses, of your teams? Where is your energy? In a reset, if our energy is all over the place and we reset, we're probably going to be driving with an all over the place energy into the future. We want to get mastery of our energy. So let's dig into that. Mastery of our energy means that we are responsible in the Great Reset of how we show up in the world, how we show up as role models, how we show up as leaders. We are responsible for the environments that we are curating around us. If you ask yourself honestly, are you waking up every morning saying, I have amazing energy and passion and necessity and need to go into this crazy historic time and do the best that I can each day. I'm going to show up and do what I can to manage and nurture my energy and to drive forward. Now, what we've learned in environments, and we do a lot of culture change programs and projects within our business, what we've noticed here is that any environment, and right now, the overall global environment is in an interesting place. It's quite, although we're trying to get to a supportive place with each other, there's some areas that are very punishing in how we're thinking and how we're treating each other and how we are thinking about the way some of these pandemics are being handled, the way our businesses are being handled. It feels like we're in a difficult place. It feels like we're in a punishing place. What we've noticed with human nature is that the more punishing an environment feels, the less we give our mental energy over to trying to solve something, the task, or trying to solve something new. It's a conscious effort for us energetically that we have to push ourselves up the scale to a collaborative and a coordinated place, meaning I'm responsible for making sure that our energy is good, that my energy is good. I'm taking care of myself, my environment, my family, my close relatives, my team, my organization, my customers. I want to make sure people are feeling good. I want to make sure that we know we're supported and we're collaborative. One of the greatest things that I experienced in being in San Salvador and El Salvador, and I'm sure there's folk from other countries here too, was the necessity and the excitement to get together and band together to drive innovation for the country. That is needed more now than ever. That is a collaborative energy. When we can feel that we are partnering together energetically, we will give so much more towards the task. So please pay attention to this, because the second most, well, one of the most important things here, the third most important thing here is our energy. And there's 4 ways that we've noticed in over the last several months going through this great reset, how people handle this. The first set of people that we've talked to just don't see any opportunity in the situation at all. Some just go, it'll pass. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to do anything. I actually don't see what the problem is. I don't see what the big opportunity is. I just think that there's a lot of drama that's happening right now. I'm going to just keep my head down, keep doing what I've always done. It'll pass. I don't see any form of opportunity. Second way to approach this that we've noticed is some people see the opportunity. Wow, I could help. This is an opportunity to reset. This is an opportunity to change. This is an opportunity where I could step forward and contribute to people that are really struggling, which could turn out to be a really great business opportunity for me. They see the opportunity and they don't do anything about it. Lots of talk, no action. Third type of person that we've noticed in the resets, they see the opportunity and they just go ahead and solve it. All right, this is happening in real time. I'm proactive. I've got my energy right. I'm going in and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it for me. I'm going to fix it for my business. I'm going to fix it for other people around me. But then there's a fourth. And this is where, when our mindset and our energy come into contact with each other, is super important, is they anticipate the opportunity and solve it ahead of time. This is not going to be the last historic moment that we're going to be in. this was a great awakening. This is a great reset for us. It's not going to be the last time. I believe this level of challenge is designed historically to bring us together as a human species so that we can consciously raise our vibrations and think about how have we been operating fundamentally in this planet. Anticipate the opportunity, solve it ahead of it. Super, super important. That means elevating up from only a competitive headspace to a creative headspace. What that means is don't just look at what everyone else is doing and try to compete on the same scale. But when you're tapping into that creative mindset, what is it that you need to do in order to elevate your business, in order to get into the great reset, in order to push forward? Competition to creativity, very, very important. Now I see hands up in the chat. We're going to save some questions for, please put your questions in the chat if your hand is up to ask questions. We're going to save those for Q&A. And then also, we're going to make some time to be able to dig into a Q&A together. Now, the fourth thing over here as well is how are we taking action? So if we've got our mindset in the right place and we are focusing on our energy and we're getting our action all lined up, and what it means by action is taking action. How do we take necessary action? So an important thing in a reset is to ask yourself your business question again. This is the most important thing is when you're asking the business, what is it that we're trying to solve for as a business? Because I'm sure everybody's been hit with, if you're very much a retail store or you very much have relied on people coming in physical proximity to you, and you've had to pivot and shift to digital or online, or you've had to find new ways. One of the amazing ways to spark creativity is just to remind yourself, what is the business question that we are trying to solve for our business? What are we in business of doing? Is that still the right business during this time? Is there an adaptability that we need to connect to? The second question, what most of us forget, because we all focused on trying to understand how to resolve our businesses during historic moments like a great reset. We're trying to keep our survival going. We're trying to keep our lights on, our doors open, our teams paid, all those kinds of things. That's the business question. But sometimes we forget about the customer question. Who is it that we're serving? What do our customers need right now? How do we drive more growth and loyalty with them? How do we build better relationships? What is the customer question that we are trying to solve for right now? When you can link your business question and your customer question together, that can be a win-win situation for yourselves, for the customers, and for the market, and for the economy. Because what's happening is that you're constantly checking in. Am I in the right business for me? Am I doing the right service? Are we approaching this in a way that's most efficient for us and where we can utilize the resources that you have? It's like the amount of restaurants that have flipped to curbside pickup or become food delivery companies. That quick flip has saved economies, but it's also sparked a whole new industry. Those types of quick flips in the business are very powerful, but what is it that the customer needs that you can solve for? What we found as we work with businesses is it's really important to sometimes push up and make your problem harder. If you were in business to solve something, what we mean by make the problem harder is push up. How do you make the problem even harder? How do you go for something even bigger? When you go for something even bigger, like right now, it might be, well, I was in the business of, let's just use that example. I was in the business of food experiences. I was running restaurants. Now, how do I make sure that everybody gets access to fresh food? How do I make sure that nobody goes hungry? How do I make sure that I'm delivering, especially with, say, COVID, how am I delivering an even healthier food experience? You make the problem harder, what that starts to activate for your business during a great reset, especially about economic disruption and innovation and exponentiality, is it sparks new possibilities for your business to think about. Because what happens over here, for those of you that are passionate about innovation on this call, and if you're passionate about innovation, type a big yes in the chat box, because this will be right for you. Love to see who's passionate about innovation and driving innovation. Love it. Look at that. Huge. One of the big things here is that what is happening usually in our business are these S curves, right? We launch something into the market, we watch it mature, and then only after people drop off do we sometimes spark and then take initiative. if you make problems harder, if you consider yourself that there's this great quote from Amazon that always said that every day is day one. I have it somewhere here on a post-it note to remind myself. Every day is day one, meaning that we never take it for granted the opportunity we have to run a business. If you took every day as day one, you would see any day a big reset comes. It's like, oh, well, it's day one for our business. This is just a new normal. This is how we show up every day, imagining that we have to push. So this over here is that how do you jump ahead? Horizon 1, maximizing what you can do right now. Horizon 2, thinking a year out. How do I transform how I'm pushing forward in the future? What is it that I can do that could disrupt my industry? Horizon 3, what could I create that no one's creating? What could I do to disrupt my business? When you keep thinking of these and you stay ahead of this curve, and what it means is the downward curve, it allows you to jump forward. That's how we start to take action. I see lots of good things coming in here. I'll be able to check on those. So one of the things here is, what business are you really in? Write this one down for you. Take a screenshot of this. Ask yourself, ask your team. During a great reset, as we think about the next year, the next 3 to 4 years, what business are we really in? Are you still fundamentally in the same business you were, or has it evolved? Has the value of your business changed? Has the output of your business changed? If you want to create economic disruption and you want to shift economic situations right now, you want to start challenging what business you're in. There's always opportunity. There really is always opportunity. Even in the darkest times, even in what seems like the most scarce situations, people create something from nothing because they're challenging their beliefs about the situation. They're challenging what business they are in. All right. So I'm going to go through a couple of these things before we get to number 1. I want to take you through a couple fundamentals. So mindset, energy, action, super important. How are we thinking? Where are we directing our energy? And what kind of energy are we showing up to this great reset with? And how are we taking action? One of the first things for you as leaders, as innovators, as entrepreneurs on this phone call, as folk that are looking for the solutions and the answers inside of yourself to drive your business forward, accountability is key. Are you standing accountable? Accountable to yourself and accountable to your teams? Do you wake up saying, this is my responsibility to resolve each day? There's a concept of cause and effect in the world of neuro-linguistic programming, something that we work on very deeply. So many of us are at the effect of the conditions of what are happening around us, and that limits our ability to take action. If we can move from being at the effect of what is happening in the world right now, and I understand this is hard, it is a daily practice. I'm sure there's some people on here going, yes, but Kyle, come on. You know how hard this is. You know the problems I'm facing. You know the challenges I'm facing right now. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. But what is important here is that we take charge. We take charge of the moment. You have to take charge of your thinking. You have to take charge of your energy. You have to take charge of taking action. You have to move from being at the effect of this. That means you're giving your power away and stepping into causality. And what it means by causality is that, how did I cause this? How can I affect change? Lots of great questions. I will be coming to these questions over here. The second thing over here is consistency. What are your daily practices as leaders? And I know some of this is neurological. I think there's some questions about trends and there's questions about business processes, and we'll get into some of that. The most important thing here, before we layer in a new business model, or we layer in a new fundamental business technique, or we layer in a new operating model, or we try to pick the next technology to advance our business, there's some fundamentals that we have to get right first. There's some fundamentals on a core level. We have to strengthen our internal. As we perceive what's coming at us, are we doing it with a clear mindset? Do we have clarity? Do we have good energy? Are we taking the right sense of actions? Do we have accountability that if we get the solutions and answers, we're going to do anything with that? What is our practice of consistency? So what we've shown you here in Webinar 1 over this series is getting your mindset and your state right to be able to take on the tools and the processes so you as leaders come out of the other side of this great reset and say, what a gift. What an opportunity this has been for me and my business, for me to be able to give back to my community, to transform my country and my cities. but we have to take accountability. Consistency. Are we consistent? Are you waking up with your routines every day saying, I am facing this unprecedented unknown future, this disruptive future, and I'm doing it consistently? What are my consistent practices? What we talk about here is, do you have a big goal? Do you have a big purpose? Do you have a big idea of what it is that you are trying to achieve? And what are you doing every single day to get there consistently? I'll show you over here on my camera is that every day I have this gender and this up here. Every 30 minutes of my day is structured. I think about what my top goals are and priorities of the day, the tasks that absolutely must be done. What's my message and my mental message to myself? How do I state shift myself every morning into how I want to show up to be present for all of you, the 110 plus people that are here? How do I break up my day to make sure I'm delivering on those things every day? Those are the 1% daily improvements. 1% daily improvements stack up to massive transformations, but we must take consistency. I see a question here about what do you do to separate the noise from actual trends, and can we share the process? One of the things here is your purpose. That caught my eye. Your purpose, why you wake up and do what you do, is going to be what helps you filter out the noise. Trends, noise, opinions, information, news, positive, negative news, all of it coming at you, you can filter that out when you are very clear in your mind with your energy and your actions and your motivation about what it is you are trying to create in the world. What is the impact that you're trying to create? Because what happens is those signals start to lock onto what's right for you. If I have my purpose, what's the 1% things that I could do today to increase and improve my business? Anything that says, oh, stop what you're doing and go off completely left in this direction or right in this direction or over here, or anything that seems like a radical distraction, you will know intuitively, I can tune that out. The trends that you're talking about, there's another exercise in the 8th webinar here. We'll be coming back with my colleague, Paul Roberts, and we'll be doing a deep trend exercise around how do you take charge of the trends in the world that allow you to disrupt through disruption mapping and through abundance mapping. Very, very powerful. What that really is the implications. When you are clear on what it is you're trying to do each day, and even if you're half clear, but you have a big sense of purpose, it allows you to take the things that you're seeing each day and say, is this in service towards my greater vision? If it is, great, use it. If it isn't, put it to the side, thank it for showing up, and keep moving forward. Now, one of the extra big things here in terms of leadership fundamentals is how open is your mind? How open-minded are you to change? How open-minded are you to hear new ideas? How open-minded are you to look at the world through a positive lens? How open-minded are you to reset? And I see a question just came up here about how do you change the mindset in the traditional sector of the economy and family companies when the first generation actually are in the direction positions, right? One of the things here is that in our position, again, cause and effect, the environment that we in, for those of you in legacy companies, for those of you that are in deep legacy family businesses, you can take this framework and you can put that down in front of them and challenge any leader to say, show me the clarity of your thinking. Where is it that you believe that we're going, and what is your strategy to deal with disruption? Where are we energetically traveling to as a company? How can I, as an employee or as a partner within this business, continue to give my energy towards what is right for this business? Show me the actions. I will guarantee you not everybody's got it together at all. And you can challenge, take accountability, take consistency. Open-mindedness is one way that I would start to answer that question, which is how open is the mind to new change? How open is the mind to embrace disruption? Because the longer we don't have an open mind, the more ripe we are to be disrupted. Here's an example. Things that are happening right now, they have to pass through our filters and biases as human beings or as a collective leadership team. They have to pass through the fundamental filters of our business. Now, what's happening is that those filters can sometimes distort, generalize, dismiss, or delete ideas and thinking that could actually serve us on how to handle this event really well. Our filters say, oh, that's nothing, we can wait. Oh, that's not the way we do things. Oh, we thought and tried of everything before, which isn't fundamentally true. But if this event that happens has to go through our biases, then it has to go into the way we think. It has to go into our mindset, has to go into the logic of our thinking. It then has to connect to the heart. Do we now feel like this is a good opportunity? There's a lot of things that have to happen before we actually then take action. To be open-minded means that this is a little more gray. You can challenge your filters and your biases. This is all about unlearning. Being open-minded says, is my thinking linear and restrictive and rational and looking backwards rather than forward thinking? Am I making my decisions, my gut instincts and my decisions on feelings of anxiety and fear? Or am I making my decisions with excitement about what's possible? These are all check-ins. There's a lot of work behind each of these things. What I'm trying to paint a picture for you here is that open-mindedness means, what lenses are we looking at this opportunity through? How are we putting our mindset and our thinking towards it? What is our feeling and emotional state as we think about this event? There are many people that are leading decisions right now through fear. Fear means we're going to go for choices that aid our survival and that put us in a place of protection. That doesn't necessarily mean that's very creative. It doesn't necessarily mean that will help us in the long term. It's a very short decision-making process. We have to be able to expand that out in order to take action. Open-mindedness means challenging those perceptions and those beliefs. Now, the other piece here is, are you experimenting? Are you trying new things? Usually one of the very first things to go inside of corporations, and you can give me a yes or no if you agree here or if you experience this in the chat box. One of the things we've noticed, one of the first things to go is investing in innovation under times of extreme pressure and stress. There's no space for creativity right now. We have to operationalize. We have to get our logistics and fundamentals right. That is true, but that's only half the story. What if all the operations that we are investing our energy on are no longer serving the market that we're trying to serve? What if they're no longer serving the business? The Great Reset has come along and put a kibosh on so many things. It's got us challenging all of the way we do work and the reasons why we do work. So experimenting, trying new things, short 1% improvements, horizon 1, 2, 3, like we just talked about, experimenting is key. And in order to experiment, this is where you as leaders need to start practicing talking with each other about your vision. Bring your vision, bring your goals, bring your purposes back out onto the table, look at them and say, are these still serving us? Are these still the right ones for us? Where would we like to go? What would we like to create? Even under extreme moments of pressure and stress, what else would we like to create? Our mind must reach the destination before our life does, which means that we must in some way see and feel the outcome that we want before we've even achieved it. That's part of vivid visioning. That's part of giving us the inspiration and the purpose to know what we're striving for, so that our emotions, like I showed you in that last slide about our emotions can be overridden. Our emotions of fear and anxiety can be overridden by what we're really actually trying to achieve. Exactly, manifestation. When you put your mind and your heart towards something, we get to manifest what we put our minds and attention on. And the big thing I want to give everybody permission on this call here is that if we're not failing, falling, we're not progressing. It doesn't mean it's only failing if you don't learn from it. It's only failing if you don't take the lesson and do something with it, translate that energy into action. Falling means like a little kid learning to walk. You'll fall down. We don't punish a child for falling down when they're learning to walk. We go, oh, get back up, try again. Oh, you learned. But we know what they're trying to accomplish. Try, experiment, make mistakes. It's important. There's no better time than right now to make some mistakes. You know, obviously you want to take calculated mistakes, but what it means is try some things. The Great Reset, everybody's trying to figure it out. The people that are going to win right now and the ones that are winning, just look at the stock market, look at the exchange. All of those companies that are shooting up in valuations are the ones trying things. They're the ones putting themselves out there. The ones that are saying, I want to fix this problem. We haven't totally sold on how to do it, but we're putting out the first version. We're putting out the second version. We're working with and collaborating with our customers. And it's true, unlearning is very hard when you're facing change. A couple practical techniques for unlearn, like dealing with unlearn, like how do you unlearn in the face of change is ask yourself, what are you holding on to so tightly that you feel that you need to carry with you into this future? And is it actually serving you? The unlearning means that there's probably habits, rituals, ways we do business, practices that we're doing that weren't actually great. There's a story, I'll give the story real quick to answer this, but also this over here. There's a story about the 5 monkeys. I'm not sure, you can type yes if you've heard this or no if you haven't, or give me a thumbs up if you resonate with this story. But there's an experiment. 5 monkeys are put in a cage. In that cage is a ladder. At the top of that ladder is a big juicy bunch of bananas. And what the scientists did was let the monkeys go into the cage. Of course, the very first thing they do is climb up the ladder to go get the bananas. While they were doing that, the scientists sprayed all the monkeys trying to run up the ladder, and the ones not even on the ladder. They sprayed them with ice cold water over and over. Every time they try to get the bananas, they get sprayed. Until, of course, what happens? Well, we don't try to get the bananas. Don't want to get cold water sprayed on me. Then what they started to do was swap out monkeys. They took one monkey from the very first experiment, took him out, put a brand new monkey in that knew nothing about what was going on. What did that new monkey do? Up the ladder to get the bananas. And they watched what the monkeys did. Monkeys, the other 4 monkeys, pulled that monkey off of the ladder, beat it up. And the new monkey's like, well, what's going on here? But they just beat him up, right? Because they don't want to get wet. Now, the scientists didn't spray the new monkeys with water. They then proceeded to swap out the rest of the original 4 until the very last monkey of the original experiment was swapped out. There were 5 new monkeys, never part of the water spraying exercise. When that last monkey came in, the newest one, it, of course, went straight up the ladder to go get the bananas. All 4 others pulled it off the ladder and beat it up. But none of them knew why. It was just the way things are done. It's just the way things are done. We don't stop to question, is the way we're doing things still the right way to do things? Why are we doing what we're doing? The unlearning piece here, the progression piece, the experimentation piece is to challenge the way things are being done, is to ask those questions, is to get together and say, is this actually still the very best way we could do something? Are we making the world a better place? Are we leaving our customers better than we found them? Are we doing right by our business? These are the kinds of questions in the Great Reset. It gives us permission to go there. It gives you permission to go back and challenge anybody that is dealing with operations and leadership. And for those of you that are the leaders on this call, ask yourself this. Is what I'm doing the right way to do things? Adaptability. Untouched and untethered. We hold too much of our self-identification in the work we do, in the roles we hold, in the businesses that we operate. If you can go in, and I'm not saying like don't care, what I'm saying is that if you can separate yourself out from your work, if you can be untouched or untethered and say, well, I'm working towards this over here, like I have an inanimate object over here. This isn't part of my identity. I mean, there's things on here, but I can say, well, this is a tool. I'm unattached from it, yet we work together really well to make life efficient. If you can be unattached to certain things, it actually allows you to adapt quicker. It allows you to look at opportunities like the Great Reset and move faster in an untethered way. Untethered means when you find yourself too connected to everything that you're doing, and I don't mean your purpose. Purpose is important, but I mean your personal identity is completely built up in your business and in your role and in your leadership, in the role that you have inside of your company. You may want to look at that and say, well, who would I be without that? Is this team going to be efficient and self-sufficient without me? Am I potentially a roadblock to myself and to others? If I can unattach and untether, but bring the best version of myself to this, you will find that you will start to adapt and advance easier. Adaptability gets really difficult when we're too entrenched and we're too connected to the same thing. Adaptability is about the freedom to move and pivot. The great reset right now for our economic disruption, our innovation and exponential is requiring that we start to build the skill of adaptability. Can we pivot quickly? Can we be open-minded, and jump between innovation and operation? One of the last things here that I touched on earlier is about being a role model. In the Great Reset, stepping in with clarity and purpose and necessity and being a great leader is more important than anything. Clarity means living intentionally. How am I stepping in and living intentionally? How am I showing up and being my best on a daily basis? Now, we all have our good and bad days. We ebb and flow. That's just the nature and the rhythm of life. But am I showing up with necessity in the best that I can today? Am I being my best? Am I allowing myself to show up to be my best for my family, for my spouse, for my partners, for my business partners, for my customers, my employees, my teams? How am I showing up each day? Back to energy and influence. Are you treating yourself well? How is your self-thinking, your self-talk? How are you speaking out? What news are you watching? What information are you feeding your mind? In the Great Reset, where you can start pushing for economic disruption, innovation, and exponential, your influence matters. How you're influencing matters. How you're treating yourself and others, critically important. So the number one thing here, which is at the fundamental heart of everything that we do, but we've also learned now that across all of these months, the biggest value attribute leading and driving your ability to capitalize on the Great Reset, to start thinking with a strong mindset, to get management of your personal and physical and mental energy, and direct your strategy of your business to take fundamental action with accountability, consistency, open-mindedness, to be able to experiment and adapt, and to act as a strong leader, is courage. It may seem obvious, but it is courage. It's courage to take on the hard things right now. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It doesn't mean, oh, let me just switch fear off. No. Fear is also a very good indicator. Sometimes it's a really great friend. But what's important is that there needs to be something else outside or over or past or through the thing that you're fearing. There needs to be something more important than what you are fearing. Your purpose, your customer, your family. What are you doing this for? What are the reasons that you're doing this for? It's super important. The more you take on the hard stuff, even if it's the 1% small things per day, the more courage you're going to start accumulating in your life. The more courage you accumulate, the more creativity you start to access. The more creativity you access, the more you take charge of the Great Reset. The more you take charge of the Great Reset, the more you come out winning on the other side and making the impact that you desire to make. Because there's 4 futures ahead of you right now. There's the one that you're chasing. You're looking at everybody else around you saying, what are they doing? I need to do the same. And they don't even have it right. It's where you're trying to play catch up, where we're sitting back and waiting. The second is the future that you're trying to defend. For anybody here in the chat that was talking about how do I overcome legacy businesses, entrenched family industries, where legacy is more important than progress, this is a very important conversation to have amongst yourselves. What are we defending? Is it necessary to defend that? Or can we flip that and take that energy and move it towards a more forward-looking future? Because sometimes defending a legacy over progress leaves you exposed for radical disruption. And that's what's happening in the world right now. Too much defense leaves people behind. The third future that is ahead of you is the one that you're trying to improve. Looking at the world as it is and saying, well, I can fix the small, simple things. Super, super important. It is super important. But the one that we are inviting you to think about is the one that you want to create. What is the future you'd like to create? With a reset, with a reboot, with a pause. Go back to the top of the chat box. Look at all of those definitions. Trying something new, starting over, starting again. You have the opportunity to reinvent right now. You have the opportunity to start those conversations. You can start small. Just have the conversation. Just start the conversation. That's enough. What's the future you're trying to create? So I'd love to see in the chat box over here, just from what we're learning here, What is it that you believe you need to reset right now in your business? What do you need to reset within yourself? Of all the things that we've just talked about in the last 45 minutes, almost an hour, what's resonating with you here? What do you believe you need to reset? I'd love to see a couple of those in the chat box while we're talking, and I'm taking a look here. An authentic leader knows that training and learning is part of innovation. That's right. That's right. Rodolfo, what you were saying there is that we are afraid of being seen starting small. We're afraid of being seen starting again. We've got to get over this. This is a problem. It's a systemic problem. Because sometimes we built something so big and so huge, but we have to kind of say, okay, that was great. It was great. It's kind of done. We've been holding on too long to that thing. There's a new opportunity, but being seen starting small, being seen starting again, being seen not as the expert, not as the great knowledge broker, is one of the biggest things that gets us in the way of resetting and starting again. I see some things here. So the definition of 1% every day, great. So what is it you need to represent? Yeah, what are those small attributes we need to work on every day? Those fundamentals that we forget, we take for granted. Clarity of purpose, that's right. Take some moment and just think about this. This with the reset, it's like, what would you like to create in the world? What would you like to develop? What would you like to impact? Who would you like to impact? Why are you here? I know it's a deep intellectual systemic question, but there's no better time in a reset. Reset's like a vacation. Not that this is in any way, I'm not trying to compare this to a vacation, but what I'm trying to say here is that the moment is like all the things that we've been accustomed to, all our rituals and routines of going and getting our coffee and going to work and driving in cars and doing the commute and being in the same office and seeing the same people and, you know, doing things the same way on automatic pilot, it all got disrupted. We get to look at it and go, well, how is that serving me? How is, you know, resetting? What an amazing opportunity to go and explore what's next and what's possible while still trying to figure out the hard stuff. The hard stuff's not going to go away, but what energy are we going to try and solve the hard stuff with? That is fundamentally important. I see a few things here. Clearly defining personal purpose. There's some bonuses in here that I've left that you'll see at the end of this when I show you the last slide. There's a bonus section for everybody on this call where there is an exercise that I've put there for you as a special bonus for those that signed up and registered here. It's called Path to Purpose. You get to work on your stuff for yourself. I've got a facilitated video there for you. Fear, change, courage. Great. So overcoming fear, embracing change, untapping courage, unlocking courage, accepting changes for the unknown, getting rid of procrastination. Procrastination is there because we may have just lost energy and necessity towards something that's important for us. So it's all linked. You can see how this is all linked. Creating new services, adapting to new needs. That's right. What does your customer need? Go out and have those conversations. So what do you need to reset? Please keep it coming. This is great. We're going to go to Q&A in a minute here. I just want to get you through a last couple things here. The outcome that you desire in your life or for your business or what you want, even if you want things to go back to the way they were or a version of it, that outcome that you desire is going to be directly related to the level of courage that you're willing to explore. And what that means is the creativity, the experimentation, everything we've just talked about here. You get the outcome by putting in the work. There's no fast shortcuts here. With a great reset, it is blank canvas. You've got some things, there's some messy stuff you got to solve, but you get to take the best pieces of that and continue to transform forward. Now, there's one last thing I want to leave you with here, that none of this gets activated without this last ingredient, which is acceptance. The hardest thing that we've noticed in advising strategic leaders of Fortune 500 companies over the last several months during the pandemic, during this great reset, has been watching their level of acceptance, of accepting that this is happening, of accepting that they have to make a change, of accepting what is in front of them, of accepting that they have to let go of the way they maybe used to do things or who they were to become who they can be. The quicker that you can adopt acceptance, you don't have to agree with everything that's going on, but if you can accept that it's true, if you can accept that change is happening, if you can accept that the speed of change is happening faster than we maybe even are able to deal with it, then you are going to start winning. Acceptance is key here. The more you can accept that what you see in front of you is happening, the quicker your mind starts to give you creative solutions on how to advance yourself into that future. When we resist what's going on, when we fight with reality, when we fight with the reality of what's happening around us, when we do not accept the changes that are fundamentally happening, that puts us at a strategic disadvantage over the long term. Acceptance is key. So I'll leave you with this, and I'm so incredibly grateful to all of the 100+ people that are on this call. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your attention. I celebrate you all. I really do. The fact that you're here and we get to talk to each other, you're helping me live out my purpose. My purpose is activating extraordinary potential. Here's my number, impact 1 billion people. That's my goal. I get to do this. You are part of that for me. I thank you. But I also celebrate and applaud you as leaders, stepping forward to make change, to have these hard conversations, to face the things that you need to face. Because for me, being courageous is the only place that's left uncrowded right now. The world needs more courage. The world needs more leaders like you. The world needs more businesses like you run to be able to step forward and do the right thing and to make the change. I really, really appreciate all of you. You can please get in contact with me on social. If you want to follow some stuff, there's lots of really good content that we put out almost on a daily basis on the Instagram, sometimes on LinkedIn. Please reach out to me if there's any other questions that you have, you want to stay connected. We'll be back in this series. And then there's some bonus resources. Here's the link. There's the password. We'll be updating that some more today and tomorrow as well. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Sandbox, thank you so much for the opportunity to connect. I know we have around 20 something minutes for Q&A, but I appreciate you all. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Kyle. I really appreciate it. And I think you've blown our minds away once again. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share your knowledge and a little bit of, the methodology behind this new reset that we should all really take into consideration. And I wanted to first read off some of the questions that some of the participants sent prior, and then maybe we could go off into the chat box. So I'll translate them because most of them are in Spanish. I'll try to translate them to the best of my abilities. How do you apply the Great Reset in Central America? What should be the first steps to take?
I wish I could come and visit you all. I want to get stuck in there so deeply with you all. I cannot tell you how fired up I am. I so enjoyed visiting at the end of last year and just fell in love with that part of the world. I think one of the best things that you can do to get started there is an audit that one has to do for oneself. And what I mean by an audit is take stock about what you have, what is changing, and then what are the resources you have. You know the analogy of the Apollo, right? That famous thing when they're up stuck in space and they have to use duct tape and a stick or something to get them back to Earth. There's something interesting is that we have certain resources available to us. Sometimes we aren't even aware of the unused resources that are available for us to go and make change. Because what we're trying to do is make change in the system that exists in the way we've always done it. So we always end up facing the same hurdles. There's an exercise we do. It's a funny exercise, but I'll give it to you real quick in 60 seconds. Oh, it's an exercise called unused resources. I draw on the board a picture of the Titanic. Now, we all know the Titanic, right? And then I draw around, there's some water, and then you've got above water and you've got below water. And then we draw an iceberg. And we basically say, okay, so what was the goal of the Titanic? The goal of the Titanic was to get everybody to New York in time alive. But they hit an iceberg. So what ended up happening there was that everybody waited and they played violins and they all waited just for the ship to sink. The Carpathia was 4 hours away. And then, by the time the ship sunk, they were too late. But unused resources in that thing is, hey, something's happening right now. What have we got around us that we never thought of needing or using because it was for a different reason? How do we still get to New York, save all the lives, and save the ship by using what we have on the boat? Now, most of the quick questions are like, well, throw everything off the boat, make it lighter so it stays afloat more. Reverse the engines to get closer to the ship that's coming to save you. They're things. I know it's a funny analogy, but what it is for those of you, wherever you are in the world right now, is that you get to look at what you've got and you get to look at all the things around you. Put it out on the table, the metaphorical table, and say, what have I got? What could I be using right now that I didn't think about using to help me get to where it is that I'm trying to go? And I promise you, you're going to find some very unique things there. Some very unique things. I'd start somewhere like that.
Amazing. And tying it to that analogy about the Titanic, somebody asks about the unity that we should have as human beings. You mentioned during the call that as humans, we're facing this challenge to come together and really fight forward towards a common goal. In this case of your analogy, it was save the ship. What, unfortunately, we haven't really defined that in El Salvador as that common north to follow.
What's the ship? What's the ship to save? Exactly.
What's the ship to save, and how should we come about that hard question into trying to find out where should we all set sail and join together in unity?
Yeah, so right now, one of the most frequent, call it products or work that we're doing with leaders right now is visioning work, North Star work, purpose work. The best in some we're doing with intact teams inside of corporations who are just saying we're not maybe getting enough guidance from our leaders. So we as a team want to get very clear about what we should be doing right now, how to best get clear on where we're driving forward. Other businesses are really bringing their leadership teams together saying, we had a purpose, we had a vision, the conditions are different. We've got to rethink that. My invitation, and almost like in some way, I don't want to beg, but I would start to beg the leaders on this call is literally like today, after this webinar, schedule a team meeting, get your team together and say, we're going to schedule at least 90 minutes or 2 hours, and we're going to just start talking about where is it that we are going. But allow yourselves to be open-minded. Don't punish yourselves for not having the answer. But it starts with a conversation. It starts with you challenging your leaders to take that conversation. And if you are in any position, any authoritative position where you can sign off things, you can make decisions, get your team together, start picking a destination, start looking at the future and saying, what is it that we're trying to accomplish with what we've got? Who is it that we're trying to help? Those three things. What's the business question we're trying to solve for? That's your purpose. What's the customer question we're trying to solve for? Who is it we're trying to help? And then what business are we actually really in? If we look out a year, are we actually still in the same business or is it shifting for us? Start there and start wherever you are in the business. And I'm going to be very provocative here. If your company cannot, or the people or the group that you're in is not making the time to take this as an opportunity, you may have to reassess where you are. I don't mean to, be provocative, but it is one of those things is that there's no time to waste here. This is your life. You bring your passion and your purpose to every single day. You don't want to do it for some mediocre thing. You want to do it for the right reasons. So I would start there. Get your teams together today or this week and start thinking about purpose.
Amazing. And basing on that, question, somebody in the audience just asked, how do you transform a traditional business to try to fulfill this global need? We are stuck in a situation where El Salvador was our market, and now we need to kind of go global. So how would we embark in this new adventure as an organization?
What a great question. We need an extra webinar for that one, I think. But when you have traditional business, I love the idea of traditional business. You've been successful for a reason. You have so many qualities inside of your company that got you successful, that got you servicing a customer. Don't neglect those. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? We want to say, what are the best people? What are the things that we do well? What's the value that we bring to the world? What are the things that we make that's almost better or differentiated than anybody else? How is it that we are showing up with this team and with this energy and that we're doing it in a way that the world needs us? You had a thriving business before this disruption came. All that has happened here is that how to get access to those people and how you provide your services, those that connective tissue, those neural pathways have been broken, they've changed. What we have to do is figure out how to re-synthesize and reconnect and recombine so we can still do what we're passionate about doing and get it to those in need, right? And so if El Salvador is a market that's kind of stuck, we've got to look at the rewiring. We've got to figure out how to reconnect in a different way to get the people that because they still need the things they need. It wasn't from one day to the next. They go like, well, I don't need that anymore in life. Maybe some of like the urgency has fallen away, or maybe with some things, there are some things that just after this great reset, we don't really need. We were just doing it out of necessity or out of comfort. But most of the things we still need. So how do we figure out new ways to get there? And then if El Salvador isn't there, then what is it that you have? You have the internet. You have communities, you've got social networks, you've got the ability to, promote and get your word and get your narrative out there. Just start to put things out. The biggest thing that we're learning for ourselves is how many more human beings there are in the world that might need something that you have, but they weren't able to get access to you before until they flew to El Salvador. You flew to Russia or China or America or Canada, whatever it is. Now there's an opportunity for us to connect and make pathways and meet new human beings through the connective tissue of the internet, through the connection to tissue of social networking and platform effects. And so start putting your things out there, start promoting, start talking about your story, start telling people what you do. Just put it out there. I promise you, the algorithms and the promotions and while paid advertising on social is still cost effective, because it's going to get extraordinarily expensive soon. While it's still cost effective, put it out there, start to reach more people, start to connect with more people. You'll find that you will start gathering an audience beyond your boundaries. But when things do open up, you've also done a great thing for your country and your city, because you might start attracting new tourists. You might have started attracting new minds who are completely interested in coming, like me. I'm a huge fan. I cannot wait to keep getting back. I'm so bummed that COVID blocked that for me this year, but this is the way I get to do it. I get to do it digitally until we can be in person. Wow, look at this. 100 and something people I get to talk to today.
Amazing. And based on that same note, typically if we analyze our company as a fridge, and we open up that fridge and we start seeing what ingredients we have inside, for most of us, this period of reinventing is creating new plates and creating new tastes that we had never tried before. Somebody mentioned that in their organization, they tend to be very strict when change arises. And what would be your recommendation as to introducing these new solutions for this new normal and this disruptive innovation that might occur within? And how can you measure that? Because traditionally we measure innovation with traditional KPIs and whatnot, but innovation, as we know, is a lot more messier. So how would we structure that in a traditional form and being able to measure that the best way possible?
A fantastic question. Actually, one of the biggest things that are falling out of this great reset that we've experienced is the idea of the conversation of metrics, OKRs, KPIs, roles, responsibilities, strategies, actions, tactics. Measurement. We're having to measure differently. We were kind of used to some baseline measurement. A lot of it's got to do with profits and quarterly. Now that we have contracting markets, we've got contracting industries, things have been put on pause. We're not meeting our growth metrics or our revenue metrics just because of the disruption that's been going on. Well, some more technology companies are. You see they're exceeding in the hundreds of % of growth. Others, more traditional in-person businesses are it's very hard to drive that traffic. We have to start having a different metric conversation. There are 4 really important metrics to think about. One of the metrics is, how do I have a vision and how am I measuring myself against my vision? That's one of the first metrics that's super important. Do I have a vision? How do I measure myself against my vision? For me, it's impacting 1 billion people. That's one of my big metrics. So for this, I would look at that metric and say, okay, so there were 120 or 130 something people on this call today. I could imagine that out of 130 people, maybe you run businesses of upward of 10 to a few thousand employees each, let's just say. That's maybe already around 10,000 people or more. Those 10,000 people, how many customers have you got? So if there's something you learned from me today that you're going to apply within your teams that gets to benefit a customer, think about my metric. I'm getting closer to my number, but I'm measuring on who do I get to connect to and make impact. It's a slightly different metric than just how many conversions did I make? How many talks did I give? The second one is the expectations metric, which is how do we reset our expectations? Experimentation, growth, innovation, adaptability may not give you fast returns right now. But if you position it in the right way, how many experiments are you running? How many focus groups are you running? How many customers are you talking to get feedback about how they're feeling and what's going on right now? That might be a sense of measurement. That's a measurement of connectivity that you are having as a brand with your audience, which is different from just money. How many things am I selling? We can come back to those ones. The other is around your resourcing. How am I preparing myself for the future? If I scale this right now, if I build this today and I visualize the success of it, and I'm experimenting. So if I do 10 experiments, 3 may work, 7 may not, but how do I anticipate being able to scale into those metrics? There's a different set of metrics that we have to start thinking about. The reset's allowing us to say, well, what is it that we'd want to measure? If we were free of just the traditional time, money, resources, revenue, shareholder value, what are some other metrics?
Amazing. And I think these two questions are related, so I'll try to combine them. One is, with our company, should we have an innovation committee to pursue innovation, or should we just try our entire team to pursue it live? And then the second one is, what process can we put in place to capture disruptive ideas from our employees?
Great questions, everybody. It's another webinar right there. I believe that some of your speakers that are coming through in the next few weeks are actually going deep on innovation, right? I believe. So I don't want to say too many things that would take it off track, but innovation committee, I'd want to go deeper with you to understand what you mean by committee. I personally believe, having co-run innovation inside of a large Fortune company, was that committees are great, but committees are also a form of democracy, and democracy can sometimes hinder innovation. And I mean that with deep respect. I mean that with deep respect. Because it's like, it's a conflict. I'm trying to be an entrepreneur and be a democratic committee. Ooh, you can feel the conflict coming already. Huchang. Like, well, how fast do we get to move until everybody's decided that it's okay? How much compromise do we need to make? I think that if you could find, I would reframe committee to say innovation ambassadors. Innovators, entrepreneurs. A dear friend of mine who wrote a great book called This Might Get You Fired, he calls them punks. Find the punks in the organization, which means the ones that are going to challenge. You band together as a network rather than a committee and say, go and spread disruption in your business. Go challenge your leaders. Go find things to disrupt. Make innovation a skill for everybody in your business. Speak with HR. How do you increase your creativity skills? Hell, I'll do a big promotion here. If you want to come talk to us and talk to Sandbox, we'll partner with you on how to train you up internally in order to get yourselves innovative and innovation ready. It's all right here. Sandbox has that available. But when you do that, that doesn't make it just a committee decision. It makes it everybody's decision to go after innovation in a powerful way. Now, the processes, there's some deep ones. One of the first things that I would say is at the heart of doing innovation inside of an organization successfully is you must link the innovation to the company strategy and the ROI that the company is trying to achieve. Learn while doing, innovate while solving a real business challenge. Too many times innovation happens in a silo off to the side, and you're working on something that is a little bit off piece, that's a Horizon 3 or even just nice to haves that aren't actually directly related to the business. And what makes the integration of that innovation so tough is that you have to now build a bridge to why it matters back into the business. Now imagine the other way around. Imagine the leaders of your business say, all right, innovators, here are my 7 challenges or my 10 challenges for you. Go forth and innovate. These are fundamentally important things we have to solve this year or this quarter for our business or in the next 2 years for our business. Suddenly innovation becomes a discipline in the business rather than just a fun activity to the side that you have to now go around trying to convince people. Learn while doing. create a network effect, build an ambassadorship of innovators, set them forth with real challenges of the business, and I promise you, you'll start to make real strong progress. And speak to Sandbox and us. Speak to us. We'll help you.
Perfect. No, I appreciate it. And, you know, I think we have 5 minutes left. I just wanted to.
These are awesome questions, by the way. I just want to say, like, these are amazing questions. These are, I wish I could spend so much time on each of them. These are fantastic questions. Please don't hold back. Put them in here. I'll try to get to them as well, text-wise afterwards. We'll figure it out.
Amazing. Well, it seems the questions have slowed down a bit on the queue, but I had one which I'll just throw out there. And when you were going through this thinking, feeling, and action part, where did you leave the part of source? You know, how do you connect to that higher self? You talked about rising your energies and your frequency to really tap into that potential. So where do you leave that out from your little what should we call it, scheme that you had there?
I love that you went there. Usually, like, the connection to source and spirit and creativity can sometimes be a little like what we'll call shishi foo-foo for corporations. They're getting into mindfulness, they're getting into energy, but as soon as you kind of go a little bit too far in, they're like, it kind of glazes over. All right, let's get into it. Last few minutes. This is important. This for me is probably one of the most important things. I usually reserve this for myself and for those that really want to, like, go deep on this. But we all inherently have a connection to infinite courage and infinite creativity. We really do. It comes from a place. I believe, sitting here talking to you today, I'm excited to see the recording back, because as much as I prepared slides and talked to you, I sometimes don't always know what I said. There is source. Something comes through you when you are in service of others, when you are in service of a higher calling. You get used as a vehicle. You get used as a voice. Things pass through you to communicate in a way that it can connect to whoever is on this call. Sometimes I say things that resonate and I don't necessarily know why. But I believe that for each of us, we have our own version of source. Whatever you believe, wherever your source is, wherever your creativity comes from, that's the energy aspect. You want to be able to nurture your creativity. You want to be able to nurture where you get your happiness from, where you get your joy from. And what that means is, for me, it's a practice of meditation. I am born and raised in South Africa. I am African at heart. That's just how I've been raised. So for me, nature. I try hike on a daily basis. I get out to nature. I sit, connect with earth. I know it sounds really fundamental, but it's true. I will connect and go bigger. I try to put myself into places where I'm tiny and insignificant, where my big head and my big ego, or the big stuff that we do, and we think everything's so important. Put yourself into a place where you're little, where you're small. And I don't mean to take away your power. What I mean is there's something so much bigger going on, so much bigger that we could never fundamentally understand. And then practicing gratitude for that. Wow, I am alive. I wake up every morning, my feet go down on the ground, and I go, even if I'm not in a great mood, I'm like, thank you. I get another day. I get another day to live this thing out, to be of service, to try resolve this stuff, to be a better human being, to figure out my silliness, to impact. And that, when you wake up with gratitude and energy, and you can find a part of your day to connect and go like, yes, things are tough everywhere. But how cool is it that we get to solve this together? How cool is it that I get to live in this time and be a contributor towards figuring that out? That comes from somewhere else. Like, those ideas, creativity come from somewhere else. So practice meditation, practice clean eating, practice hydration, practice good sleep, get out into nature, take care of this thing, take care of your body. You are important. You are so important. Your mental health and your physical health is so important. Take care of those, and you will notice that you start to attract to you something incredible from whatever it is that you call source.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Kyle. And we really just wrapped it up at 12:30, right on the dot. So I want to appreciate, again, your time, your knowledge, and especially your big love for El Salvador, which really means a lot for all of us. Just wanted to take this brief moment just to announce the next webinar, which will be next Thursday at 11 a.m. You can register at snbx.sv.com. And without further ado, well, thank you again so much. I think you've inspired us all, and we have a great friend now in Silicon Valley that connects to El Salvador and connects all the great source to this tiny country that we call home.
Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And once again, I celebrate you all as leaders. Go forth, be courageous, and we're always here for you. Please connect if there's any other questions. Thank you, Sandbox. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Agusel. Thank you, everybody, for this amazing opportunity. Really appreciate you all.
Thank you, Kyle.